Joining me now is Janet Harris. She is the newly named Executive Director and CEO of the Winthrop Rockefeller Institute. Congratulations to you, Janet, and welcome.
Thank you, Roby. It's good to be with you.
For those who do not know, what all does the Winthrop Rockefeller Institute do? And tell me kind of how its mission has transformed over the years.
The Institute is a nonprofit conference and retreat center. We're located on Petit Jean Mountain on the former home and cattle ranch of Governor Winthrop Rockefeller. You know, Governor Rockefeller spent 20 years on top of Petit Jean Mountain convening people and groups of good thinkers and citizens and folks that wanted to make a difference in Arkansas. And so we continue to practice that legacy today by convening and encouraging collaborative problem solving here. And so we call that the Rockefeller ethic, and that's the work that we do every day.
Maybe give folks a little bit of an example of some group that you've worked with and kind of how there's been an outcome of a solution to a problem.
Sure. So a few years ago, we convened what was known as the Rural Health Summit of Arkansas. This was a group of practitioners, medical school students, nurses, doctors, teachers, everyone in the field of rural healthcare, coming together to say, what can we do to really try to improve the delivery of healthcare to rural Arkansas? And so over the course of a couple of years, they put together some plans to increase things like residencies for medical school students in rural areas, just to help support community health workers in rural Arkansas. And most importantly, out of that collaborative that we worked with was born the Rural Health Association of Arkansas, which is now an advocacy group that works to get more resources into rural areas.
You've answered this question, but I'm going to ask the question more bluntly so you'll give me an even more straightforward answer. Why is Winthrop Rockefeller still relevant today?
Well, I think his legacy, especially as a convener and a transformational leader, is probably as much or more relevant today as it was back in the 60s and 70s. We're in communities and societies that are deeply divided. We have different ideas about how to solve our problems. Our problems become more and more complex with technology and the changes that happen in our communities and systems over time. And so for Winthrop Rockefeller to have taught us that we have a responsibility to be thoughtfully concerned, to come together and try to connect with each other across divides and to work towards consensus, I think we need that now more than maybe we've ever needed it before. And so it's an honor for us to be able to do that work with our own programs and with conference groups that come and convene here on the mountain with us.
I'll ask you a little bit of a personal question here about Winthrop Rockefeller, your relationship with him. You obviously did not know him, but you have been there for a number of years. You learn something new about Winthrop Rockefeller almost every day, if at least not every day, every week. From where you started when you came into this role in the deputy position here, tell me what you've learned that has surprised you about Winthrop Rockefeller.
Yeah, so I was kind of a student of Arkansas history even before coming to work on the mountain about 7 years ago. I knew quite a bit about Winthrop Rockefeller's legacy as a transformational governor and his impact on Arkansas as my home state. So, I'd always heard the stories. What I didn't know about him was his life in New York growing up as a Rockefeller, the way that he had this deep, deep love and concern for humanity, and how he just enjoyed working with his hands and being outdoors. He enjoyed building relationships with people. And he took a little bit of a different path than the rest of his family. So getting to know him as a person, a young person, through his own writing and through now, books, a new book that's come out about him by Dr. John Kirk at the University of Arkansas, Little Rock. This is all about his life before he came to Arkansas, what kind of a leader he was, and all the values and experiences that shaped him. And so he's an extraordinary person with an extraordinary story, but he was also an ordinary guy, and with human aspirations and interests and values and failings like the rest of us. And there's just a lot to learn from his own reflective leadership journey, I think.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to reading that book by Dr. Kirk there. Where will you be taking the Winthrop Rockefeller Institute as its new CEO and executive director?
Well, because we are a convener and because we care about collaboration and we practice it every day, we practiced collaboration in writing a strategic plan a couple of years ago for the future of the Institute, as we brought together partners, employees, donors, stakeholders that we had worked with at the Institute, and people within the University of Arkansas system, and just said, how can we use the Rockefeller ethic to improve Arkansas, and how can we become really a more impactful organization? And so by putting together that strategic plan, we now have a really solid roadmap to lean into Winthrop Rockefeller's legacy and to the Rockefeller ethic. We had to put that on pause a little bit during COVID. And so now that we're coming out of that and kind of able to resume normal operations, first couple of years is going to be really leaning into accomplishing some of those partnerships and objectives that we outlined in the strategic plan. But my goal is to not only practice the Rockefeller ethic here on the mountain and support groups who do that, but for us to be able to teach other people how to have, these purposeful and productive convenings where we can get work done even across silos, even across divides.
She's Janet Harris. She's the new CEO and Executive Director of the Winthrop Rockefeller Institute. As always, good to see you, good to visit with you. I wish you the best of luck. I know we'll be working on some things together.
Thanks, Roby.